Today I'm going to be giving you a crash course on the fishing niche to teach you different approaches to target sub-niches in this absolutely massive industry. Now the fishing niche itself, as I said before, it's a massive industry, but there are a lot of different kinds of fishing and reasons why people fish. So this is important to consider as an affiliate because you really need to pick a extremely specific sub-niche within this industry to build a website around it to help to avoid a lot of that search competition. I want to be talking more about targeting here in a little while. While many people may live on fish and actually fish to feed themselves and their family, other people do it as a job, fishing commercially to earn a living. Most affiliates are really going to want to stick with the recreational fishing industry. This is going to be where you'll be able to refer the most product sales to average everyday people. And these are going to be the people most likely to be out there on Google searching for you. Now in the USA alone, recreational fishers spend a lot of money on this hobby. In total, more than $41 billion was spent annually. This was in 2013, so it's likely even gone up since then. And again, this is just in the USA for recreational fishers. Now more than $15 billion of that was spent on fishing equipment alone. And the average fisherman per year is spending $1,261. This is a pretty good price tag per person. So if you can bring these people into your website and even keep them there in terms of setting up fan pages or Facebook groups where you can get them to socially interact with one another, you can keep them around long term. Every person to you could potentially be worth a nice chunk of change. Now, again, in the USA alone, there are 50 million total anglers. 10 million of them are young anglers, so there are a lot of new young people getting into this sport that are likely going to be involved in it for their entire lives. And there are also 28 million licensed fishermen. A lot of places in the US where you want to go fishing to do so legally, you need to have a fishing license. So the fact that there are 28 million people that have actually done this legally just goes to show the amount of potential that is in this niche for Amazon affiliates. I want to give you some general targeting recommendations for this industry. To target this niche successfully, you're going to need to avoid the major search engine competition, and to do this, you need to select a very specific sub-niche that you can target. You should then provide an ample amount of useful information to your visitors. So you're likely going to need to go out there and do some research on whatever you decide to target to truly be able to provide good information to your site visitors. This will help to build trust with them so they trust the educational information that you pass along to them, and then they're going to be more likely to trust the product recommendations that you pass along to them as well. Now, I have some general ideas to help you get started so you can brainstorm a sub-niche that you can actually target within this industry. Things like specific fishing locations, different types of fish. People often fish for a specific species or a certain type of game. You have different fishing seasons where you can fish for particular fish during certain times of the year, but other times of the year it's illegal to do so. And so sometimes having this information can be really helpful to you as an affiliate. There are tons of different fishing competitions and tournaments, and even celebrities within this sport. All of these making really great opportunities for targeting. You also have different fishing techniques, although the rod and reel is going to be the one that most fishermen are trying to do. And as a result, most of your recreational fishers will be pursuing that technique in one form or fashion. And then you also have conservation. When fishing is not done sustainably, you deplete populations, and you can actually drive entire species to extinction. This is becoming even more important in recent years because people are finally starting to realize that this is actually happening to certain species of fish. So approaching it from this angle can actually be a good angle as an affiliate. Now the point is not to talk people out of fishing, but it's to teach them how to fish responsibly. You can still fish recreationally and conserve the fish species by doing things like catch and release, just as one example. Now I want to go into some more details on some of these different ideas that I've provided you here, because there's really a lot more to discuss than simply mentioning these ideas. And some of these things are some of your major targeting opportunities within this industry. So I wanted to be sure to elaborate on those. Now the first one is fishing locations. There are literally millions of different places that anglers can go to fish for recreation. And this gives you a unique opportunity as an affiliate because you can build an entire website that is centered around one or maybe a handful of these locations in a specific area. For example, you could pick a particular lake or a river, or maybe a city that has a couple of different nearby fishing locations. If you're going for something like saltwater fishing, you might want to cover a couple of different areas within the reach of a specific city or something like that. Give you a little bit of variety, a number of different keyword phrases that you can be targeting. All of these different places, when they have a name that is associated with them, and even a nearby city or the state that they're located within, all this stuff becomes search engine keywords. People are looking for information relating to those different fishing spots, and they may even be searching deeper, looking for information on certain kinds of fish or techniques of fishing, or different information about fishing tips for that particular area. This can even extend into the equipment that people are buying. Obviously, if you were creating a website about a specific lake, for example, there's only going to be a limited number of species within that one lake. And there's only going to be a limited number of techniques and information and stuff that really relates to that location. And as a result, you can narrow down your product selection on Amazon to be able to target things that people are more likely to buy, because you can recommend a certain type of product for this location based on all the information that is out there. Now, you don't just have to trust the information that you find on the internet for this type of thing. In fact, if you can find a place where there's really not a lot of information available, but you can find out for sure that it is a popular fishing destination, try visiting the place yourself. Or if it's not anywhere near where you live, you could even try to hire somebody off of Craigslist, for example, to go and take pictures and or videos and use that as content for your website. Now, if you do actually make a trip out there or send somebody to do it for you, make sure to try to interview the locals, especially people that are actually fishing. You might be able to get some inside information that you could then use as content on your website that might not be available elsewhere on the internet. And this will make for a really useful, in-depth website in the end that can then refer sales on very specific types of Amazon products. So consider these different types of places, and this is just a partial list. You could certainly come up with others. Oceans, bays, inlets, channels, rivers, streams, lakes, and many more. Any place that you can go to fish that has a name associated with it that you can use for search engine targeting could be a potential location for this. And again, be sure to relate your selection to a specific city and not just use the name of the place. People might not know the name of the place, but they might be looking for a fishing lake near this particular city or in this certain state. So be sure to try to approach that from those couple different angles. Now I want to move on to talk to you about different types of fish, because this is yet another really good targeting opportunity for this niche, because you have tons of different kinds of fish. However, you should definitely keep in mind that not all fish is popular for anglers to try to catch. There are certain types of game fish that are considerably more popular than others. For saltwater, this would be things like marlin, tuna, shark, tarpon, sailfish, mackerel, snapper, grouper. For freshwater, this would be things like trout, bass, salmon, snook, redfish, pike, catfish, and walleye. Now, this is definitely not a complete list. Depending on what area you might be trying to target, or if you're trying to target a specific body of water, you're only going to have limited species that are within that body of water. So you may need to do some deeper research to find out what exactly is there, and the people that go there to fish, what exactly are they trying to catch? What is their ideal fish to actually go after? So consider this too. Fishermen that want to improve their skills at this sport are going to seek out information about the behavior of the species of fish that they are targeting. They're going to want to know things about the fish's habitat, feeding and foraging habits, as well as migration habits, can all be really important information to know in detail, because it can allow anglers to be more successful at catching these fish. So think about that when you're going after a certain kind of fish, or maybe a certain body of water. There's going to be habits of these fish in these places that the average person won't just know by simply visiting the lake or by simply throwing their line in a couple of times. So when you can research this information, maybe even ask the locals about it if you are visiting the place, and you can really get some great tips that you can pass along to people. So you'll be able to let them know, hey, during the summer, go to this part of the lake, use this rod and reel, use this type of a lure. You know, you can actually reduce fishing down to a science like that and use it to your benefit as an Amazon affiliate to refer sales on particular types of products, and even to get the same customers to continually purchase products. Now, one other part of this industry that I want to talk about in detail involves anything famous having to do with fishing. I'm mainly talking about competitions, tournaments, and different celebrities that are in this industry. Anything like this that has a name associated with it, that has any kind of a popularity or following to it, there's going to be search engine traffic revolving around those names. So you can actually piggyback off of those well-known names of different competitions and sport fishermen by targeting this stuff on your website. However, if you do decide to center an entire website around one of these sub-niches, you still want to be as specific as possible, but avoid using the actual name of that competition or celebrity in your domain name. For example, Key West Fishing Tournament. I would not want to try to register keywestfishingtournament.com or any combination of that, really. I might want to go for something more like Florida Keys Fishing Tournaments as a main keyword phrase, and then maybe I could have a couple different sections on that website about different tournaments that go on in different parts of the Florida Keys. This allows me to avoid potential copyright and trademark infringement and still target these names that are obviously going to have a lot of search engine traffic revolving around. Now, something to think about. There are obviously going to be a lot of major national and international fishing tournaments and even celebrities in this sport. However, you need to think about search engine competition when you are choosing what to target. If you go for more local tournaments and celebrities instead of the big names, you know, if you were to ask any fisherman, who's the most famous fisherman that's alive, or the most famous fisherman that's not alive, you know, you might get some common answers. Those would not be the names that you would want to target, because chances are there are already thousands of websites out there covering those people in those tournaments. But when you can target things that are still popular but a little more off the beaten path, then you're going to be able to avoid that major search engine competition but still be able to piggyback off of some of these well-known names and get some of that traffic on your website. Now, you can also take this type of targeting and competition and celebrity information and combine it with other targeting opportunities I have previously discussed. For example, you could actually make a fishing site that only covers, say, one specific lake in a particular city and state. That site could then feature information on popular game fish species that are actually found there, including habitat information, migration, feeding habits. You could have pages that talk about different tournaments that are hosted at that particular location, different celebrities that visit and even fish there, and even specific tackle that relates to that exact location and those different fish that are found there. So you can try to combine all of these techniques into one. However, you need to make sure it is still done in a way that is going to be highly targeted to a search engine, because this example site that I just described here, it's not a broad topic site. The entire site is about one specific lake, and every single thing on that site, every different page on that site would relate to that one lake. So you're getting a very narrow topic while still covering a number of these different targeting opportunities for that location. And again, this is just one possible way that you could go about targeting the niche, just to help you to brainstorm some ideas to get started on. Now, I wanted to mention a few other things that you should consider when you are targeting this niche and also building your website for it. Number one, some fishing is seasonal because of conservation laws and/or to ensure the sustainability of the industry. Species might have a critical time of the year where they need to reproduce, for example, and have time to raise their young to an age where they can provide for themselves. So fisheries can close down during different times of the year in different locations. So providing this information to your visitors can be really useful for them, but it can also be good knowledge for you because it can actually affect the popularity of your site during different times of the year. This can cause your website to then be seasonal as well. Now, a lot of fishing is going to end up being seasonal, so it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you simply may need to have that prior knowledge. Now, there are certain areas, more tropical areas, where fishing may go on year-round. There are also colder areas where fishing can go on year-round. Ice fishing, for example, is a great example of that. So you're not necessarily going to be locked out of fishing during the winter seasons. It really is just going to depend on what places you are trying to target and what type of fish species are going to be targeted as well, because it can really vary from one to the next. Now, number two, there are a lot of different fishing techniques. You could potentially try to use that as another angle for targeting. However, techniques that are involving a rod and reel are going to be your most popular, and as a result also provide the best Amazon commissions because of that popularity and also because of product pricing. Your fishing rod and reels, for example, are going to cost a lot more than, say, a fishing net. Or if you wanted to try to teach something more off the beaten path, like noodling, for example, there really isn't equipment that you use for that type of a fishing. So you need to make sure you're approaching it from the angle that gives you the best opportunity for referring decent Amazon sales, and that is most likely going to be something rod and reel based. Now, there is freshwater, there's saltwater, and then you also have things like fly fishing that are still included in that. So you really have a decent variety still while being limited to that particular fishing technique. Now, number 3, in many different places, fishing licenses are required by various government authorities. So make sure you research relevant information for the species and/or the locations that you are going to be targeting. This is not only useful information for your readers, but many new anglers will be searching for it. And those new anglers are the most likely ones that are going to need to buy equipment because they might not already own it if they're just looking for information on a fishing license. So that can be a good opportunity to get some prime customers into your website by providing accurate information on fishing licenses that people will need for whatever it is that you're going to target. If you're going to target a certain lake, do people need a license there? If so, what are the rules and restrictions and requirements for it? What website do they need to go to sign up for it? Or what phone number do they need to call? Or what address do they need to go and visit? Get really, really specific with that and provide as much detailed information as you possibly can. Number 4, consider teaching sustainable conservation for anglers. This is necessary to protect fish species from depleting over time, which can lead to complete extinction of specific game fish, and even other fish that might depend on those fish as well. Just look at what has been happening to tuna populations over the last 50 years or so. This is a big concern for a lot of fishermen these days. So it can be a popular search topic that leads to a lot of social discussion as well. Also, by showing that your site recommends conservation, you can be building an extra level of trust with your readers and make them more inclined to stick around your site, revisit it to see what new information you might be posting, and/or also to trust your product recommendations and buy something off of Amazon that you are promoting. Now, when it comes to Amazon, you can find some of the top fishing products provided for you in a spreadsheet file that have already been researched. And these are sorted into 4 different categories: rods, reels, fish finders, and apparel. Now, these categories are certainly not all of the possible categories that you can go after. However, these are more likely to be your higher price products that your average fisherman will be looking to purchase. However, you still need to make sure that you're gearing that towards your particular niche. For example, if you're doing a site about a specific bay type of fishing in the ocean, you would certainly not want to be promoting a fly fishing rod. There would be no point, and you would never refer any sales on it. So be sure to be smart about which products you select from this research. Don't just blindly pick and promote them all. Now, the fish finder niche is also an interesting one because some of these products sell separate data cards of maps of various regions. For example, you might have a map of one of the Great Lakes, or maybe all of the lakes in a particular state in the USA. And these data cards can be fairly pricey accessories that go along with the fish finders that are already fairly pricey too. Now, be sure to keep in mind that there's a lot of other kinds of tackle that you could be promoting in this industry. You have all kinds of things depending on what exactly you would be targeting in terms of what kind of fish and what locations. you would have different kinds of fishing line, lures, weights, tackle boxes, etc. that could go along with these higher priced products. And they can be worth your time to promote, especially if you're relating them to particular locations and certain types of fish. Now, as a result, make sure you are doing proper research for whatever it is you're trying to target, so you can select these products appropriately and even explore Amazon for additional products. Now, there are also 5 product videos included with this research. And while you won't be able to upload these to YouTube, you can upload them to your own website, possibly to some other video hosting sites. Dailymotion.com may be one possibility. Or you could even embed them directly into your site using the YouTube code that has been provided in the member area. However, do not force the use of these videos. If one of the products is a perfect fit for your niche, then consider using it. Otherwise, you would not want to just put it there for the sake of having it there.